as well. 20 minutes in silence. Okay, so welcome all of you once again. And thank you. We have quite a few people today, and you all have abided by the rules of the game. So it's good to start with so many people because this is the first time where we are doing the talk first, followed by the workshop in the second hour. And we have a very special guest with us, Sister Judi Rich, all the way from Calgary. Welcome so much. Thank you for joining. And before I pass it on to her, as always, a few things about her in the introduction and also in the form of a poem. So it's an amazing journey of Sister Judi. She began her spiritual journey in 1992 when she stumbled onto the Brahmakumari Center in her hometown, that's Calgary. And from childhood, there has been a strong interest in the bigger questions of the universe, which have largely been motivated by the feeling that she had somehow missed the day the manual for life had been handed out to her. So it's like really a lot of yearning, which she had right from that age. And she says that through the study of Raj Yoga, she feels that she's rediscovered the source of true self-respect and the inner power. She's still working as a communications designer and a fitness instructor, both. And she feels her calling in life is simply to remain at peace with herself in all that she does. And let me tell you, she's very humble that way. She's mentioned that she's not got any credentials, though she has. Let me tell you, she has been a ballet dancer and had her formal ballet training into young adulthood. And over 40 years, she has been a certified fitness instructor in various modalities, to name a few: athletics, dance, choreography, indoor cycling, and even mind body as well. And as I told you, she has been, over the past 30 years, a professional graphic designer. And she's also into the Brahmakumaris, studying this Raj Yoga since 30 years, and a BSc in psychology from the Trinity College, University of Toronto. And she's also the recipient 2010 of the YMCA Peace Medal Award. So with this, I would now say a few lines in the form of introduction for her. The first poem for her is, today we have an angel with us called Judi Rich, who shall be sharing her wisdom without any hitch. She inspires us to be away from the Ravan's ditch, because evil Maya is waiting like a horrifying witch, ready to confront always with its mighty itch. Maya Ravan and its progeny are ready to give me a twitch, but with God by my side, there's never any spiritual glitch. We may have some technical glitches, but never spiritual. And today's topic on creativity, you know, her background is a lot of fitness instructor, choreography, dance, graphic designer. So I don't think we can find any other speaker best to do the talk on creativity. So today she shall enlighten us on how to be able to create, develop all our virtues, which are indeed in us innate. Using them will help us to develop our mighty fate. There then remains no chance for each other to have hate, because I have indeed found a unique way to recreate. Spirituality has now become my essential trait, And life has now become sweet as a date, because now with this Supreme, I can very well relate. With this, I would now request Sister Claudia to invite her with flowers. Over to you. Yeah, thank you. Sorry to.
Sorry. Om Shanti, dear sweet angels, Judi. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And Om Shanti to everyone. Good morning from Canada. Good afternoon. Good evening for all of you in India. So it's very sweet to have the sweet sister talking to us. So then I got two nice flowers for you because this represent our love for you. Okay. Okay. So welcome.
So there you go. Thank you so much. And also, yeah, I'm sure, yeah, I'm happy to see we have a full house today itself, right from the first minute or so. And that's all because of Sister Judy's magic. So welcome once again, and over to you for the talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Om Shanti, Om Shanti. That was such a creative introduction. I think the talk is done. You revealed everything in the poem. There was nothing to share. But we will try to live up to that beautiful introduction. Thank you from the heart. And thank you to everyone here. I think it's appropriate that a talk on creativity should have a slightly creative schedule, so a little bit different. Thank you for coming earlier. I know it was a shift in schedule. I'm deeply touched that you were open to do so. Great, thanks for that. And we're actually going to start with a little bit of a reflection, if that's okay. Very short, very, very short. So I invite you to be seated comfortably, and always the opportunity to try this with the eyes naturally open. And just taking a moment to bring my mind, my awareness completely into the present, into this moment. Stepping outside of any sense of time, no racing of the mind, completely and fully attentive to this moment, so that this moment changes from being just another ordinary moment into something sacred, that I can use this moment in such a beautiful way, with a peaceful mind, a happy heart. I can use this moment to create something beautiful. Om Shanti. So, creativity. This is such an interesting quality, interesting value for life. And it's quite, I think, an elevated quality because it is one that is attributed to God Himself, God the Creator. This is a very basic way that we understand God to be. God is the Creator. So I think He really likes this quality of creating. And the idea, of course, is that as children of God, each and every human soul, being a child of God, we all also have this capacity to create. So each of us has creativity. And I mention that because I don't know how many times I have heard souls say, and you may even have said this, I am not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. I don't know how to translate that. I have no creativity. And that always is a little bit heartbreaking because it's simply not the truth. As children of God, given our spiritual DNA, we all are extremely creative. So what that tells me when someone says I'm not creative is that we have some concepts about creativity that may not be accurate at most, but also might be very limiting, actually repressing, limiting our creative capacity. So to explore what is creativity, what nurtures that creative capacity, and also, of course, what oppresses it. And even more interesting, what is the point of being creative? What is it for? So what is creativity? So when I look at this word creativity, or someone says, I want to be creative, one of the ideas that's come out is that something unique or novel, or we might even say original, has been developed. So we might see a painting or a choreography, a dance, and say, wow, that was so creative. It was so original, so unique. And we keep using this word, original, original. And that's a big hint about what's behind creativity. Now, when the word is used in a worldly sense, it's that feeling of something that's never been done before. It's completely new. It's so original. No one's done this before. And that actually is not the meaning of the word original. The word original has origin in it. So original actually means that it's connected to the origin. So this is a big hint about creativity, that something that's truly creative, and many destructive things masquerade, or we feel are creative and they're not. Something that's really creative will be connected to the original capacities of the human spirit. That's very deeply involved in this idea of creative, that at that moment, the creator is connected to the origin, to what is original in the soul. And some of the words that we use for original, or those original qualities or values of the soul, might be spiritual or even pure. So connected to something very pure or innocent. So as an example, we have done, and you may have done, workshops with both children, youth, young adults, as well as adults. And these are creative workshops. So they might be asked to go through a reflection and then draw something. And so we've done a specific workshop with both young adults and adults, the exact same workshop, where they're asked to create something. And the results are very interesting, what happens. So simple workshop, the participants are taken through a reflection on a better world. That's it. They just have a simple meditation on their experience of a better world. At the end of the meditation, they're given some paper or markers, and they're asked to draw what they experienced. So language won't have to be involved. They're just going to visually express what they experience. So we did this workshop with high school students. It was in a large gymnasium, and there was a roll of newsprint that had been spread around the entire gymnasium. So it was like mural size because there were so many students. They each were given 3 markers, and the instruction was they would hear the meditation, and afterwards they were seated, they'd be asked to stand, face the newsprint, draw what they had seen, and after a few minutes, they would have to take a couple of steps to the right, leave their creation behind, and start to add to the creation that was to the right of them, to someone else's creation. So this was a very interesting experiment because they were also going to have to let go. So they heard the meditation, and then that moment came where they had to stand up, and there was a pause. And I'm thinking, this could be very embarrassing if they don't do anything. After 1 second, I don't know what else to use as a word, they attacked the paper. They had so much to express. They just were so overflowing with expression, with creativity. Beautiful, beautiful images. And I remember there was one young woman who was clearly very talented in that you could see she drew quite a bit. She drew a beautiful big eye, and the pupil of the eye had this lovely image of a kinder world in the pupil. It was beautiful what she drew. And after a couple of moments, they were asked to step to the right. Someone else was going to draw into what she had done. And most people say, don't touch my creation. Don't do anything to it. She had no problem. She stepped to the side. Someone else started to make markings, add to what she had done. She had no problem. When we do the same activity with adults, this wasn't on newsprint. They had a sheet of paper in front of them. They have the meditation, and then they're asked to express. Nothing happens. They stare at the paper, and they actually ask, I'm not making this up, they say, can I have another piece of paper to practice on in case I make a mistake? Just to do some sketches, prepare, plan. Is that okay? Okay. So very different. Of course, we're talking about the purity that's there in the young adults. Young children will dance, sing, draw without prompting. No problem. They don't care what it looks like. They're just expressing from such a pure place where there is 0 ego. So this purity, this innocence, that's the cornerstone of creativity. Where there is purity, there will be creativity. And again, creativity is an expression of the original qualities of the soul. So that joy, that happiness, that love, all come flowing out with the purity. So where there's purity, there is automatically creativity because there is automatically a connection to the original qualities of the soul. So some people say, I can't draw, I can't sing, I can't dance. And I remember I only did 1 year of art school, and there's a reason which we'll come to, but maybe if there's time. But I remember in drawing class, the instructor said, many people say they can't draw, as if drawing is something that's in the hand. Or I'm not sure where they think drawing comes from. They said, drawing is actually about how you see. The act of drawing actually has to do with how you see. Just as if you speak to a music teacher, which my mother was, she will tell you singing isn't some sort of magical vocal cords. Singing is connected to how you hear. And movement, it's not about something going on in the body. We all have legs and arms. It's about the heart. So if we look at purity, when there's pure vision, I can draw. And when I hear in a pure way, I can sing. And when there is a clean, pure heart, I can move. So purity is the cornerstone. Where there is purity, there will be creativity. If I rearrange the letters of creativity, I get reactivity. So where there is not purity, there will be reactivity. There's a difference between original and old. Reactivity is where I keep doing the old stuff and I'm stuck. That's the way I always act and think in that situation. So I just keep doing it in that situation. There's nothing new going on. It's just old stuff. That's reactivity, and there's no purity. There's no emerging of those original qualities happening. Creativity is where I don't go into the old, I go into the original. So then there will be creativity, the original quality. So this is a very key aspect of purity. And it's why it can be so universal. Why someone in Norway can create something and someone in Africa can relate to it, because at that original level, as a soul, we all have the same original qualities. So when something's really creative in that pure sense, it will have a universal aspect to it. It will really touch souls cross-temporally, different times, but also different cultures and languages. So we talk about the universal power of music, right? If it's coming from that pure original place, it will have universal impact. So original. Another aspect of connecting to the original, to the qualities of the soul, is eternal. So something that is really creative will also be enduring or timeless. So I look at very often the creators of old, the composers and the painters, and how enduring their artwork is. I can walk down the street and see a completely new bag with a print of Van Gogh's sunflowers on it. I mean, from way long ago, or we sample in modern music, we sample from those great composers of the past, Mozart, etc. Their music's so enduring because they were operating from a more pure place. So creativity sustains itself, it endures. Yes, someone can be very clever and seem to create something that really looks brilliant, and then it falls apart, or it's not even used, not even thinking about it a year later. There's no enduring power to it. Because something that is creative is coming from that pure place, coming from the original qualities of the soul, including eternal, it will have a timeless quality to it. It will endure. There's almost a power to it, that power of purity. So it will endure. So the great masters, so creative in that there was still a lot of purity in the soul. So their works are more enduring. We don't really see that in modern times. It's really here one year, gone the next. And the third aspect of being truly creative is it will be benevolent or uplifting. And this is a very interesting aspect because many people are so-called creating works of art all the time, but they don't necessarily uplift. That is, they don't allow the soul to reconnect with their original qualities. So it's not really creative. In the sense, again, creative is original. I, the creator, am connected to my original qualities, and through my creation, others can connect to their original qualities. So it really, as we say, touches the heart or moves us. I remember hearing about, I think he was a priest, doesn't matter which religion, but of a deep religious following path. And suddenly, middle age, he had a calling, a feeling to change his profession. He wanted to go into architecture, which is quite a shift. So he studied architecture, very gifted. And what he was pulled to create as an architect was what he called sacred spaces, very beautiful. I wouldn't call them temples or churches, just sacred spaces in which souls could come and reconnect with themselves at a very deep level. That is the type of architecture he was pulled to do. So he had spent a lot of his own life in that kind of reflection as a priest. And so that is what he put into his creative expression, was what he was able to connect to. He wanted to give that opportunity to others. And this is how he created those spaces. So in essence, what this tells us is the creative act isn't so much about the doing or the outcome even. It's more about the state of the creator. What state am I in as I engage in the expression? If I am connected to those original qualities, if I'm in that pure place, which again means no ego, and if I have those feelings as a natural result of benevolence, all of that will pour into the act of expression, and the outcome will absolutely be creative, not destructive, not reactive, but creative. What this means is that we are engaging in creativity all the time. Not just these formal moments of painting or dancing or singing, but all the time we're asked to be creative. All the time I want to act from that pure, original, timeless, benevolent state. And whatever I think or speak or express, act or see or hear will become creative. Even the law of karma tells me that I am constantly creating my future. I have to master this act of creativity. It's just a way of life. Every act I perform is creating a consequence of future. So I want to master creativity, be original, be timeless, be egoless, be benevolent as I move through the day. And then it's as if I'm creating a masterpiece on the canvas of my life. we have a lot of very beautiful examples of creative souls in this organization of the Brahma Kumaris. They were such creators of a kinder world. And I was thinking of one of them preparing for this morning, and I have to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this topic because it had me reflecting and churning, and it was so enjoyable. But one of these souls was affectionately known as Dadiji, Dadi Prakashmani. And she had 4 words that she would speak to that for me really capture what creativity looks like practically. And those words were humility, sweetness or sweet words, instrument consciousness, and renewal. Renewal is how we're really talking about creativity. Connecting back to the original is new, but renewal is also one of the most beautiful energies ever. So looking at each of these, I feel in my life, I've had very concrete examples that I didn't know it at the time, that I was exposed to that really helped me to understand creativity isn't about drawing a certain way or singing a certain way or dancing a certain way, but it's a way of life, a way of being that creates something beautiful and sacred. So this idea first of being humble or egoless. So we have a retreat site called Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center. And it offers weekend retreat experiences. And there was one retreat that myself and actually my physical sister, who came from an acting background, so we were asked to develop and offer a retreat that originally was called The Artist Within, because they felt we were conventional examples of artists. And the retreat, because it was called The Artist Within, it attracted souls who identified themselves as artists. So painters and actors and singers, etc., came to this retreat. Our vision was not to offer a retreat that went deeper into those conventional ideas of creativity. Our idea was it be open to anyone who wants to start to reflect on how they are constantly a creator in their own life, how to make my life sacred, a work of art. But the retreat attracted artists originally, and you can tell they all came so deeply attached to their identity of being an artist. And they always talked about, the world does not understand me. The world does not value my art. There was so much ego in the room. And we just thought, this is horrible. This is going nowhere. So we decided to offer a session one night that we never got to do again, but it was so powerful. And we told them, they were actually afraid, because we told them they're going to have a special session that night and just bring a blanket. And they're like, what's going to happen to us? And we had closed the door and put sheets on the door so they couldn't see how we were preparing the room. They couldn't, and they were trying because they were terrified. Actually, their ego was terrified. And what we were doing was creating like a runway strip. So we were putting candles in a row on the floor. And eventually we opened the door. They had brought their blankets. And they came into the room and we had them lie down on the floor. You might know where this is going. Lie down on the floor with their head near the candle. So they lie down on the floor and the candle is just above their head. And then we take their blanket from them and we cover them completely with the blanket from head to toe. And then we had one of the senior yogis, so gifted, do a meditation on becoming what we call bodiless. So asking them to experience themselves free of the image, not an artist, just that light, just a soul, a bodiless soul. That session transformed the retreat. The next day, no one was talking about their art. They just wanted to know how to connect with that experience of being a soul. That's all they cared about. That's all they wanted to create, was a connection with being a soul. We changed the name of the retreat to Creating a Life of Purpose. And the entire retreat was exploring purity. How to create that original state of the soul within the self and connect to God as the one who supports that journey. So it was a completely different concept of creativity, but closer to the true experience of creativity. So essential was to become free of ego. This is why the adults are afraid when they ask them to dance or to sing. It's like, I'm afraid of looking stupid. There's one class that I teach, and it's a dance class. And the studio has glass at the back, so everyone outside can see what's in the studio. And not many souls attend this class, but many stand outside looking like they would like to attend the class, but their ego will not allow them to. They're afraid of looking silly. So the child within wants to, but that ego, so egoless humility liberates creative expression. How to do that? Go deeply into the experience of being a soul. Will liberate the soul from ego. The next aspect, egoless, is the instrument, and this is the one I love the most. I would, if nothing else stays with you, this is important. In ancient times, creative souls would believe in something called the muse, M-U-S-E, the muse. These were from Roman and Greek times. These were gods and goddesses who were protectors of the arts. And what the artists would say is, it's not my idea. I'm just the vessel. They would wait. Their feeling was the muse would deposit an inspiration in their head. They were waiting for the muses to give them an inspiration. So they would say, I'm just the instrument. It's not my idea. It's from the muse. This has been the cornerstone of my own life in terms of creating anything. Is someone will come to me and say, I need this flyer, or I need this printed, or whatever. And I go, okay. And I have zero ideas going on in here. There's nothing going on in here. I'll tell you the one thing that's going on later, but nothing is. And I wait. I wait for an idea to emerge. But it's never the feeling of my idea. I don't feel I could ever come up with this idea of waiting for. I just have to take responsibility to prepare myself as an instrument. And that involves a lot of silence. Requires so much time with silence to be a clean instrument for inspirations to come. When I was at the YMCA, we had different graphic directors at different times. And one year we had a director who had just come out of communication and design studies. And he wanted to give us a little training session on how to format your work, your flyer, whatever, on a page, what he had learned in school. None of us on the team were formally trained. We just would feel our way. And so he said, in school, what they teach you is you develop a grid. The sheet is separated into measurements called picas. You develop a grid and you place your objects on the page according to the grid. And then the grid goes away and you're left with your creation. So he showed us. He created the grid, put the objects according to certain technical formula on the grid. The science of designing was what he was trying to show us. And at the end, he took the grid away and the flyer was there. And my colleague leaned over to me and I leaned over to her and I said, doesn't it feel like that object needs to move just 1 millimeter to the right, just a smidge to the right? And she said, yes, I feel that. And we said, we feel that needs, he says, no, the grid says it goes there. You cannot move it a millimeter. I said, no, but it doesn't feel right. It needs to go one. He says, no, the grid. So it was a battle between science and silence. Silence, this feeling, was saying, that doesn't feel harmonious. It needs to move just a little so there's harmony on the page because of the silence, the feeling of silence. But science said, no, it needs to go here. So to be honest, all this time with meditation only keeps enhancing creativity. It's spending 95% of the time preparing just through silence, and then 5% it will just flow. So my job as an instrument is to keep that silence very vibrant inside, so the inspirations can come into the space. That's the key. That to me is the main thing, that instrument consciousness. For us, of course, we don't say the muses, but divine inspiration is what we are opening to. But it requires being very egoless and silent and this deep love of just creating a peaceful space inside. This is what a creator, an inventor, an innovator does, so that inspirations can come. The next piece, and I know we might run out of time, I'll speed up. I do want to just share this one story because it was so touching to me, of being very sweet or uplifting towards others. So when I was in dance school, I had a jazz teacher named Eve, which is ironic because, of course, Eve is connected to the creation story, Adam and Eve. But her name was Eve. She was very mature. We didn't realize she was only a few years older than us, but she was so mature and so gifted as a choreographer. I've never experienced another choreographer like Eve, so gifted. She always put us in front. We rarely saw her dance. It was always about us, us, us. And when she choreographed, I loved to just watch her work because it was so unique. So one year she was going to choreograph a solo dance routine for me. And usually what happens is the music's picked, the choreographer spends time ahead, listening over and over to the music and starting to prepare a dance. That's usually how it works, but not with Eve. She didn't even know what music I was going to use. She came in and said, here's a couple of songs I found. You pick which one you like. So she didn't know which one I would choose, so nothing was prepared. I said, I like this song. She said, okay, great. So this is back in the Stone Age. It was an LP record. So she put the LP record on the turntable and she placed the needle and then the magic. This is how Eve choreographed. She'd listen to maybe 4 bars of 8. So she'd be listening to the music and it was really like, and then she'd say, okay, here's what you're going to do. She hadn't moved other than these weird, subtle movements with her head. It literally emerged full blown in her head. And then she'd show, and it was always, always unique. She put things together in such a unique way, very pure. And it was always magical. But the time that really touched me, I had a ballet performance competition. The souls I was competing against were far more gifted than I was, far more. It had been put on point, which I was disastrous at. So I was probably looking depressed as I performed this. And it was all just going downhill quickly. And then I looked up for some reason at the balcony. And Eve was up there all alone, watching me. It was as if she could feel what I, the soul, was going through. There was just a moment, but it imprinted deeply. This thing we call drishti. She looked at me deeply. I felt so understood. Her drishti was so sweet and so uplifting. It transformed me in that moment. It created something different in me. I kept dancing. There's the adjudication at the end. And they said, Judi, you have first place, which was ridiculous because I was certainly not worthy of that in terms of technique. The others were far stronger on point, far more brilliant. But something had happened in that moment, that deep, deep sweetness and upliftment and understanding, authenticity created something in me. This is a true creator. They're not creating for their own recognition. They're creating in order to empower others. So can you imagine every act of your day when you think and speak and move and see is somehow uplifting those around you? That's creativity. I'm going to end by saying this idea of the muse has 2 meanings. One is these gods and goddesses who are patrons of the arts, but there's another meaning for muse. Artists would talk about how their muse inspired them. It might be a model, it might be someone important in their life, but someone else who would inspire. Their way of being inspired how they would create. For me, my muse is God. Constantly, I feel that being is so incredibly beautiful. Such a beautiful being. So whenever I'm asked to create something, I'm always saying, does this come in any way close to the beauty of God? That being is my inspiration, my muse. I'm frustrated because I'm finding it's impossible in any physical way to capture the beauty of God. It's completely, that beauty is completely incorporeal. And yet I'm always striving, always inspired. Does it capture that beauty, that sweetness, that grace, that compassion, that purity of that being, that harmony, that benevolence? Is it in whatever is being produced? Even cooking a meal, does it match the beauty of God? So to be a muse, to be an instrument, but also to have that one as the guiding force, that beauty, inspiring the quality of what I am doing. So perhaps now we'll go into a reflection together in the little time we have left, if that's okay. Is that okay? All right. You are all incredibly creative beings. So let's set up our little studio inside, shall we? In one thought, I turn inwards. I used to think that creativity happened in facilities outside, a dance studio or an artist studio or a musical studio. But actually, creativity happens in the studio inside. And that's what I enter now. Moving away from my usual worldly thoughts, the racing of the mind from one timeline to another. I let that all fade into the background and move myself, my attention, my heart into a very sacred place inside. My own inner studio of creation. The lines on the walls of this space are created with so much care. The walls are made of peace, serenity, and deep self-respect. It's a very pure space where I reconnect with my authentic self. I, the soul, a wonderful being packed with so many qualities, so much beauty, concentrated within the wonder of me, the soul. And my Father, the Supreme Soul, is a master, a creative master, the one who deeply understands the art of creating a beautiful life. I am a child of that one. I come from the same lineage. I have that art too. And I experiment in my inner studio. I start with the self. Very pure thoughts for the self. deep trust in myself, respect and value for myself, a lot of confidence in myself, no fear. As a soul, I am unique, one of a kind, and I have something very special to offer to the world that only I can offer, my own unique creative contribution. I don't compare myself to others or compete. I would miss the opportunity to contribute what I alone have to share. As a creator, I honor my specialities, my God-given gifts. I let them color every thought, every word, every movement, how I see and hear. I follow in my Father's footsteps. He is such a master of creating a beautiful life. I make my life into such a masterpiece by being at peace with myself and honoring my specialities. I'm able to honor the creative contribution of others. So together, we create something far more powerful than we would alone. From my own creative studio, I become part of a creative team, harmonizing with others to create a more beautiful world. Om Shanti.
Well, amazing. What to say? Words fall short. A beautiful way of expressing creativity. And I'm very surprised, rather, the four things which you used of the Adi Prakashmani. In Hindi, we call it Nimit, Nirmanchit, and Nirmalvani, but you've covered that beautifully in English. So thanks for these sharings and thanks for your time. I know you want to go to another session next few minutes. So I would request Dr. Ashok Mehta to please propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, Dr. Mehta.
Om Shanti. Judi, it was a pleasure to listen to your creative words on creativity. You are obviously, I've never had an opportunity of interacting with you personally, but from what I've heard about you and what I've heard from you, both show your creativity is a God-given, is given by Baba. And you are a special soul, and we are very thankful for you to participate in this values program, Values in Life. I think we'll always remember you for this beautiful presentation. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Shanti, thank you. And I would request all the other participants to please hang on, be around here. We have the workshop. Don't forget not to leave. And thank you. See you, Sister Judi, again for another session soon.
We can take a picture. Sister Judi, that's our tradition that we take a picture, so we won't miss that. Take picture with you. I'm sure everybody loves that. So I request everyone to please open your video. Okay? And I won't miss anybody this time. I know last time some people said, hey, I'm not there. So sure to take all of you in. See, you have just 2 more seconds because people are still opening the video. That's how I miss you when the final one comes. So now, this is the final. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Judi. It was very sweet.
Om Shanti. Thank you, thank you. And thank you for adjusting. Thank you to everyone for joining. And thank you to translators. I always appreciate, I think you have to get creative with your translation sometimes. But thank you from the heart. Om Shanti.
Right. So as we bid goodbye to Sister Judi, let's carry on with our workshop. Please hold on. I can see the numbers dwindling. That's being very naughty, not being true to the workshop. Right. So anyway, so let's start. I think we'll just go into the session as Anu's sister will be the first one. You can start yours. Yeah.
Right.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. After this profound talk, I think we all are really touched within, and I'm sure today's workshop, the reflections and exercises will touch everyone. So anyway, how we always do, let's start with our icebreaker. So as we always do, we start with the icebreaker video. So on creativity. So let's see. And whatever insight you get, whatever feelings that comes to you, you can share verbally or on the charts. Let's start. Thank you.
Everyone can be creative whether they realize it or not. A lot of people tend to think that creativity is binary. Either you have it or you don't. But in reality, we do all have it. It's just a matter of how you interpret it. You know, some people think, I'm not an artist, so I don't use creativity at work. But it's more than just artistic expression. Whether you're working in retail, or you're in an office job, or even if you're a professional athlete, you're probably using creativity to make decisions and solve problems on a daily basis. Creativity is both a skill and a process. It's something you can learn. And like any other skill, it's something you can get better at through practice and repeated use. Now, you might think, well, I don't have time to sit down and create something every day. This is where it's important to realize the difference between using creativity and actually creating something. You know, in a lot of ways, creativity is all about how you see things. So yeah, you can use it to create poems or paintings, but you can also use it in practical ways, like coming up with an alternate solution for a work project or organizing things in your home. So the next time you think, I'm not creative, or I'm not as creative as some other people, take a step back and really take a look at what it is you do on a day-to-day basis. You might be surprised at how often you're using creativity.
That was beautiful, right? Like Sister Judi also mentioned, every second of our life we are creating. So maybe we have to shift that thought. What is that you are creating at home? But, well, what is that you would like to share after watching this video about creativity? Anyone, we would invite you to unmute and speak. Yes, Dr. Mehta, you want to share? Or because you're unmuted, so I thought.
I think it's a beautiful, the speed with which it went, and everything appeared different at different points of time as things passed through the mind. I think different shapes were being created out of nothing. I think it was a beautiful presentation of a creative mind itself, a creativity in its multiple ways one can express and one could see it. I think it's a wonderful presentation, a good icebreaker to enjoy.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Anyone else? What is it that is creativity for you? You would like to share? What thought came from the video, watching the video?
So you may want to read the chat box in the meantime, Anu sisters. There are some responses.
So Dr. Sandeep says that for me, creativity is being able to enjoy every scene and moment. That's beautiful. Yes, that itself is the creativity, enjoying. So Brother Manuel in Portuguese, somebody shared, his sharing, to be creative is to share life with others. Beautiful. Anyone else would like to unmute and speak? Because I think after the talk, it has definitely shifted, right? From science to silence. I mean, what is that I'm creating inside my heart and feelings? Anyone else? Harpreet, you cannot unmute. You can. Oh. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Yes. Now all the participants can unmute themselves. Yes, Harpreet, you want to share?
For me, is being in the present and having that still mind when I'm creating something, being in the moment, present.
Yes. Powerful creation, being in the moment.
Creativity is looking to something, some problem, something, the different angle, and getting some points from this, and then building new ideas, new materials, new life, whatever you want to do. Being there, knowing there, looking different angle to the problem of whatever you are doing. Okay, thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Looking with a different angle to every problem and then finding the solution from that. Suchita says upliftment is creativity. Creative in mind, words, and in action. Subhas says, Manoj brother says, for me it is recreation. Veena says it's being more intuitive, being more creative about the words we use, our vocabulary in our self-talk. Very, very important, self-talk and perception. So being creative in the self-talk, and that is what will come out when we are talking to somebody else.
Shanti, yes, that's also what I have been thinking, to be creative in the thoughts, especially if you can use a point of the Murli of that day, especially the blessing, to create those thoughts during the day. I think that's the highest form of creativity.
Amazing, beautiful, yeah. And then that's what naturally will come out of you, isn't it? Thank you. Arun, brother Arun, you want to speak? Yes.
Yeah, as said just now, that to become instrumental is the key factor, and 95% of the meditation time to empty yourself and get that 5%, that is the real value of the meditation, I believe. And then that creativity will come when the waste thoughts are gone. And then we will get the real creativity. Out of the box flash will come to you. And this is what I think is the best thing to happen for me, I would say, and for anyone.
Yeah, beautiful. So staying there in that churning, in that silence until you receive that. I think it's really beautiful. Brother Manoj, we don't want to leave this session. I think a lot of sharing, but I think we have a lot more waiting. But I'll just read quickly what is on the chart. Rihanna says that creativity is expressing yourself with all the gifts that are available. Dinesh says that created for me, creativity for me is to be in the state of self and remain stable. Yeah. Creativity for me is to be, yeah. There's so much more. And as we always share, we'll send you the sharing slides. So I think we'll move on to the first exercise. So hand it over to. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Anu, and thank you for your lovely sharings. After that enriching talk from Sister Judi and your sharings about what is creativity, let's now reflect upon a creation that you may have made. So let's tap into the artist within, as Sister Judi was telling us about. and let's see what you may have created, something that you can call your own. So as Sister Judi said, creativity is all about original. So there has to be something original in it. And let's not just limit ourselves to a drawing, painting, or maybe writing poems. It could be something different, maybe creating a recipe, maybe some baking art, maybe a design, interiors, or anything at all, maybe creative solutions. So think about something that you have done that is very creative and that you can call your own. And then let's have some sharings in maybe a minute or so.
You want to share the screen if you've forgotten to share the screen button? Yes. Well, I would like to add here, if Pooja sister allows, particularly it reminds me what Sister Judi said, that something which no one else, we have also put down that it's only you who could have thought and done that, because it's you are the creator of that. So please write down what is that thing. And we want to see the different shades of creativity here.
If you want, I can talk about a bit.
Okay, I just stop sharing so I can see you all on the gallery view. I hope there was enough time to think about your own creations. Yes, Arun brother, you were saying something.
Yeah. Actually, I will give you one experience. In my job when I was in Algeria, it was the first privatization of the company in that country, and we were 6 expatriates moved in Algeria, in Annaba, and that time we were all vegetarians, and in that country it was extremely difficult to get the vegetarian food. We used to stay in a hotel. For 3 months, we stayed in a hotel. And we were accompanied by the military, going to the plant and coming back from the plant to the hotel was accompanied by the militia. And then food habits were putting us into a big trouble. And then I was being a CFO of that place. I thought it is going to break down the team as such. So knowing the cooking a bit, at lunchtime, I spared my 1 hour to teach the cooks how to cook the food. And that kept the expatriates at that place. And then we used to carry the food even to the hotel to eat in the night. So this was the breaking point, or the breaking the ice at that point of time, which was, I think, was quite good. And in the story, I will not make it too big, but bringing the vessels to cook what we want was also a challenge actually in those days. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. So it was a creative solution on your part, just not for yourself, but also for some others who were vegetarians. Thank you. We have some sharings in the chat box. Meanwhile, if there's anybody else who'd like to unmute and share, please go ahead. Creating a beautiful garden. Mom says. Yes, is that Dr. Geeta?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
You have time for one more sharing?
Of course, please.
Okay. Being creative, what I understand is what Sister Judi was also saying, that of course, understanding yourself, going into that silent space within you and coming out with something unique is one thing, but understanding your surroundings, the people around you, and the whatever milieu you are living in, to understand that and use your flexibility for creating new ideas, to be in sync with the times also and in sync with yourself. That is one
Yes.
thing.
Yes, that is what is creativity, Dr. Geeta. Would you like to share something that you have created, one of your creations, or anyone else?
Sure. It was I who created it. My grandson was given a project from school, which was a fun thing actually on their part, and they wanted the grandparents to do it. So what they had done, they had flattened out his photograph, put it in an envelope, and then they mailed it to us. They live in US and we are living in India. So that thing came came by mail, and so we had to the idea was that this Ishan has traveled all over, traveled 10,000 miles to visit you. Now, how would you like to take him around in India? What things you will do to instill Indian culture in him? And whatever you think about, again, creativity and values, all those things. So that was quite exciting. And, I thought and wrote down, how we went to pick him up, then what happened afterwards, how we introduced him to the culture here and the friend circle, how we interacted with all those people around him. So I wrote an essay on that. And believe me, when lastly it was time to send him off, because this was a virtual thing that had come, and we have to write about it and then send it back to the school. So in the end, we were sending him off. So we were at the airport, and the tears started welling up in my mind, in my eyes, that it was so wonderful to live through that experience, which was really not a part of our routine life. So, and that left everybody very happy. The grandparents, grandson bond was strengthened, and some Indian values were instilled into him. And one of them is flexibility and, respecting your values. So this experience we have.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Geeta. We have a few sharings in the chat box. If anyone wants to mute and speak, let's just try and keep it a bit brief so we have more sharings from others. Creating a beautiful garden, Mamta says. Dr. Ashok Mehta says, creating academic society of cancer surgeons in India. Yes, he has been the one who is instrumental in doing this, demonstrating surgical skills live when technology was still evolving. That is such an amazing thing to do. A lot of people have learned from you, Dr. Mehta, I'm sure. Priyal says, while a renovation of my home, I used different colors for each room, representing various elements of nature. Nice. And Kavita says, the guidance of the Supreme and the pure intuition, I was able to write a song dedicated to God. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. If there's any more sharings, you may continue typing in the chat box. We will include this in our review material. It's time to move on. So is that Manoj Bhai? Are you taking the next exercise?
Yes, yes, I'm very much there and taking.
Yes.
Thank
I think Deepak Bhai is also writing up. I think.
you. Bhai, you want to quickly show that or?
Yes. Is he there? If something's been jotted down, maybe we can quickly
Yeah, he's
share.
there.
Yes. Okay, great. So we had quite a few sharings, getting vegetarian food, understanding surroundings. So creativity is not just limited to drawing and painting, right? It's a lot more than that. It goes beyond. So thank you, Deepak Bhai. And over to you, Manoj.
Okay, so thank you so much, all of you. So let's go to the creator before we go on to the action planning. So I'm sure you all have today been deeply touched with Sister Judy's talk, and she's touched upon a lot of spiritual aspects of creativity, I must say, completely new definitions of creativity. And I really liked that how if you're creative, you can't be reactive. There'll be only one thing at one point of time, and egoless and humility follow that. So let's go for a few minutes in silence. I'll just share my some music here from the audio, but hope it is audible to you all. And let's sit back straight. Take a full deep breath in and out. Let's go on.
It's cutting off our audio, I believe. Yeah.
So let's connect to the Creator, the Supreme Being, and try to get some tips from the Creator itself. So as I connect myself, the energy, the soul energy, to the Supreme Soul, I'm sure the silence inside starts working. I, the peaceful soul, am the master creator of my destiny. Every thought I create is actually creating my future destiny. So let me be very careful in what I am thinking. As we always say, God creates destiny. But here in Raj Yoga meditation, we realize that God gives us the knowledge, but we are the master creators of our own destiny. And today, as we reflect on these different shades of creativity, each one of us being so unique, and as Judy's sister said, so pure and original. All of us are timeless energies, always existing and eternal, imperishable. So being so unique, let's not try to compare our life journey with someone else. Each one of us is in this lifeboat. trying to manage our own karmic accounts with each other. So let's be creative in sorting out those accounts as well. So from today's talk, let's realize this deep realization that my inner core is highly creative, and whatever I think, I start becoming that. So let me create something which I want to become, and something which is really productive. And I can do that only when I sit in silence at small intervals throughout the entire day, checking on what's going on inside. What am I thinking now? Because what I think now becomes my future. So let me create this beautiful future for myself by really taking good care of my thoughts. And as we move into the next activity for today of action planning, let me try to, in this silence which I've experienced for the last few minutes, explore on new ways of working at workplace or at home, where I can really express my newly learned creative skills. That is particularly my new way of thinking, my thoughts. So with this brief meditative experience, I would now pass it on to Sister Anu for the last activity of the day. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Manoj, for the beautiful meditation. And I'm sure at this moment, we all have so many thoughts in our mind to bring out into your creativity. And the focus is at our workplace or at home, where we spend most of our time in the day. What is the new thing we want to
Sorry,
bring?
we can't hear you. Is it only me or someone else as well?
I can hear. No, we can hear.
I think you are in some room. Is it me?
Manoj bhai, I can hear. We can hear her.
I think he can't hear, so he can't hear even you. So you have to tell him that it is you.
Let me chat.
All is good, no problem. But we heard him, so tell him that, no worries for his commentary. So I think this is the important moment that whatever that you touched upon in the silence that you want to bring out into your life, please write it down. And most of the time of our day, wherever we spend, what is that we can bring that innovative way to make it truly that pure creativity that can share love, happiness, upliftment. Think about it. And that's what is our reflection points. So reflect on the innovative ways, new ways of working that you can implement at your workplace or in life to enhance your creativity. So we'll take like about a minute or two, and let's be fair with the self. Let's tap onto that inner pure sense, whatever your heart says.
Sister, I know we can't hear you.
Yes, thank you. So I was saying, I hope you have written down the new innovative ways that you can bring to your moments of your life that can enhance your life beautifully in many ways. So I think you all have written, so maybe we can hear some. So I see on the chat already Dr. Mehta is writing, spend moments of silence before starting operations, driving or traveling. So this is remaining silence for a moment before. That's what he's bringing in. So anyone who is inspired to share, what is the innovative way?
Om Shanti.
Yes, Vijay, brother, go ahead. Can you hear us? We can hear you.
Om Shanti. Anuji, your voice is not clear. I don't know. Okay. Om Shanti, and please accept greetings of love, peace, and happiness with creativity of amazing session we had with Sister Judi ji. Now I feel we should always feel wherever, whomsoever we meet, we are a shining star, and see in his or her forehead, see her as a shining star. And once we say we be foundation of the tree, we are also the base of the tree. So that leaf has to be given water, and water is to give power, give wants, whether in the office or anywhere, with love, peace, and happiness. And you will find a creativity will be there, and very good environment will be made around you. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Starting from that shining light as the self and others. Deepak, brother, says in the chat, thank and welcome God before starting anything. Brother Arun says, connect to God early morning, become trusty, observe the thoughts, remove waste thoughts, identify own weakness, own weaknesses, work on consistently to ensure positive energy is filled in, total surrenders for situations. Bap Dada, the Father, God will answer your questions and will give guidance to lead the moment and day. So that is a deep reflection you got, and I'm sure this will definitely give amazing experience to you. So thank you for sharing that. Mahesh brother says solitude, stillness, silence are very important to be creative. So I think that's a important aspect we all are taking home with us. So in silence, the real creativity comes out. Sushila says, paying attention to my inner self, filling myself with God's love, and then performing my daily chores. So it is infused with love, no matter what my external situation is. So filling in with God's love to that deep extent that outside situations do not affect it. Louis says, connect with yourself and Baba and let be inspired what is best for each situation. So we all are really drawn to the source for that creativity. Aline says, check and change. Pooja says, traveling solo helps me to be creative. Beautiful. Dinesh says that I generally forget traffic control. However, we'll try to implement traffic control by using some tools. So traffic control, stopping for just few minutes, once in 1 hour, just to gather yourself. Check. Thank you. Better communication for avoiding misunderstandings. Not everyone can be on the same page as self. Like Mike George was saying last session, that no two people can think alike. Not at all, even though we think of that. I think there's a lot on the chart, but maybe we can also hear if somebody wants to. So Brother Manoj also says ekant, solitude, ekras, stability, eknami, only one God, and economy of thoughts. Beautiful rhyming 4 Hindi words. with economy. Unconditional love. Somebody says creativity that that person will bring to the life, everyday life, is unconditional love. That's a deep thing. We have to really think and understand what is unconditional love. Allowing others to be as they are, respecting their space and not being affected and being there for them. That's beautiful. Thank you. Anyone who would like to share? We may have 1 or 2 more minutes to take some sharings. Would like to unmute and share? What is the creativity you want to bring to your life? That was innovative, that you got touched in your heart today. Anyone who's inspired to share? Priya, maybe you are new. I'm seeing your new face. You'd like to share?
Hello everyone, good evening. Om Shanti. I am a medical teacher. I teach first year medical students here in India. So I would want to include more of storytelling and other creative tools like questioning and probing into what they feel about certain topic, and also include certain other tools like playfulness or maybe creating charts and other stuff for them to be able to understand a topic by themselves. So that is how I would want to use creativity in my workspace.
You'll bring some reflection-based play, or take them to their reflection and come up with their own thoughts and ideas that's within them. It's beautiful. So all the best with that. Good idea. Anyone else would like to unmute and speak? Lujar Singh says, God made life to enjoy and be creative, even though he's the best creator. We have to follow his footsteps, as Sister Judi was mentioning. So we may not be able to, that is completely the incorporeal God's creation, can tap onto it. Yes, Lata, you want to share?
Yeah, Om Shanti. Actually, I joined the lecture a little late, but what I hear, like creativity from my perspective would be just to be unique in our own way, maybe even if it is simple, and even if it is simple and unique, and we bring it out with self-respect, and at the same time we respect others' perspective also is creativity.
That was beautiful. Also, Sister Judi emphasized that honor and respect your own creation first. That is when we can also bring out our creation and respect others. Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
Confident to bring it. Think, yeah, there's so much, and I'm sure everybody's taking home their own innovative way. Sister Claudia, you would like to share?
Yeah, and Om Shanti. I just think that when we create that environment around ourselves, it brings so much happiness. So it's quite nice to create, especially early in the morning when we feel something, and then after we bring those out, like she was saying. But for me, it's very early morning, and that's the time that I feel, even when I'm having a shower, I have some thoughts coming. And that's when those thoughts becomes reality. I did not know that was coming like that. So we have to really have that self-respect for ourselves, and then see that we are all creators. Yes, we are all creators, and we create our own life, our own story of our life. So we want to create a very good story of our life. So for that, we need to really pay attention to the self and have self-respect, that I am very good creator of my life. So my life is a creation of myself. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much. Yes, with self-respect, tap onto the intuition, the thoughts that's coming inside you. And when is it? Knowing that is also important. So we are almost reaching to wrap up. I'll just read the few sharings on the chart, and then maybe Deepak brother, you can show So Subhash Bhai says, give respect and become respectful. That's a creativity. Suchita says, being double light at your workplace is creativity to me. Yeah, light and light. Brijpal brother says, with continuous remembrance of God in soul consciousness, with humility, sit in silence, surrender to God, have belief in yourself and faith in God, ask, believe, and receive, control the power of thoughts, and be creative. Creativity is a way of being in life, Luisa says. Thank you, everyone. Wonderful sharings. And yeah, we have captured. Thank you, Deepak brother. And we'll send you all this so you can look through. So spend moments of silence before starting operations or anything that we are doing. Self-respect is a winner. A lot of people say, oh, I have to respect my creativity. Thank and welcome God before starting anything. Check and change. Solitude, stillness, silence are very important to be creative. See, everyone is shining stars, and that's where you begin. And it surrounds us with beautiful feelings around in the environment. Paying attention to inner self, filling myself with God's love is the creativity basis. And traveling solo, that's gives that creative moments. The Sister Pooja, as she was sharing, and connect with yourself and Baba and let be inspired what is best for each situation. Thank you, everyone. So now let's go to Brother Manoj to go through that, what Brother Mike shared with us, the summary. Thank you, brother.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So I think all of you are amazing creators of your own talks. So we can all be talkers or speakers sometime in any of these workshops. I'm sure you agree on that. So let's move on to, I won't be taking long, the last 15 minutes, I'll try to wind up. Too much of talk also doesn't do good, and we'll spend a minute in silence before we exit. So I'll just share the screen about of what Brother Mike said last time. It was a lecture, it was very deep, a lot of PowerPoint slides. We'll be sending you all that, but we'll just try to take the gist of what he was saying, not spend a lot of time on each slide that way. It was all about, he started with saying the consciousness, the energy which all of us are, the soul energy, what we say. And as we again and again are discussing, our thoughts are our creation. So our creation and to be creative in our thought process is the purpose of our life. And as all of you are agreeing that all of us are highly innovative, highly unique individuals, so we need to really respect our own thought process, but get inspired from others, but not get carried away with them. So he spoke a lot about the right and the left brain. All of you are aware of this, that L for L, that left is the logical brain, right is the creative brain, or what we also call the intuitive brain, or it's also the artistic brain. So rational is more of being the conscious thought process, what my conscious mind is creating, whereas the intuitive mind is more coming from the subconscious mind. And all of us are really taught to work more on our logical brain, because that's the way of natural living, where you need to be more logical in life. And we are taught not to really express our creativity a lot. That's the way of life usually. And you can see it's been divided like that. These concepts actually don't hold any more rationality here, because the right and left brain, both these parts of the brain are connected to each other inside by something called corpus callosum. So both are very interlinked to each other. And as you can see, conscious, subconscious mind is constantly, it's a play of what we are thinking. And even the people say that left is scientific and right is spiritual. But I think if you can have a blend of both science and spirituality, which very beautifully Sister Judi got it out from our BK teachings, Brahma Kumari teachings of Raj Yoga. As always, we are taught here that you should always be having a balance of science and silence. And I must say, all of you have agreed, what is more powerful? She gave us this beautiful example of one of her choreographer teachers, and also of all the children who did the job much more better than adults. It was because Silence very well resonates with being non-egoistic. I won't go in this again, but it beautifully covers, he gave us these three aspects, the three primary contexts where we express our creativity. In solutions, in problem solving, that's first. Second is when we are really doing an artistic drawing or painting, something like that. And third is in relationships. And in all these three, we are sabotaged by ego all the time. That's what even he brought out. And he told us beautifully one thing, that ego will always make you emotional. It's very important to understand that if I'm getting emotional for any reason, it is my ego. And he told us the difference between between emotion and feeling, very simply put up. I may not get time to go to that questions which I covered, but just to let you all know, he said that feeling is something which is positive and more natural, like love, happiness, peace. These are the feelings. Whereas when your energy starts getting disturbed and you're not really feeling well, that is an emotion. That's what he was saying. And you all can read this out later, that how can I really work on myself to loosen my creative juices? In the sense, how can I be more innovative and creative in my life? So these are the things he said. Playfulness, as Priyal also said. Meditation, all of us agree. Writing, walking, sleep over an idea and then decide later. Let us not be reactive in our behavior. Let's be responsive. If we get something challenging, let's sleep over it for a day or over the night, and then we may get an idea next day. So something like that. Beautiful sharings he had. I'm sure all of these we have spoken in detail. Again, it's one of these BK teachings which we have, that how is the thought leading to destiny, that cycle. And he also said that before the thought is a belief system, because my belief system feeds into the thoughts. Whatever I'm thinking, I'm constantly thinking on the base of my belief systems, which I have had, which have developed over a period of time due to my past interactions with people. So beliefs, thoughts, and then how this leads to your destiny. All of you all know in Hindi, I can say like vritti, kritti, drishti. So all these things, let's not go much in details. These slides will come to you all. A very beautiful thing he said, we are the creators of stress. And how? Because we get attached. And it was beautifully pointed out by Sister Judi that she gave us the example of Peace Village, where all the artists were actually got for a retreat. And initially she said that they were saying the name of the retreat was The Artist Within. And how egoistic all of them were. They were all attached to their own paintings, their own creation. And therefore they were stressed. And all the time they were complaining. But a beautiful experience which they had, which I think all of you also remember, the light experience of light. Everything started dissolving. The ego went off. The attachment towards their own creation, artistic creation, whatever they have done, went out. So we need to realize that we are the ones who create stress through all these attachments. So let's be open. And that's what he said, dissolve the conflict to cooperation. And very important, accept people as they are. And we, all of us, are responsible for our creation. One is through belief systems. And I would like to touch upon very briefly these common beliefs which we have. Though they are common, but they are actually not very right to believe that success is defined by self-advancement in a very materialistic way. People have misbeliefs about their identities. Again, identifying myself with the big body which I'm carrying is again a misbelief. Belief about having materialistic gains in life to be thought as the only reality of life is also not right. And lastly, attachment and dependency are natural and necessary. People very often say this, oh, they are my kids, so I will be attached to them. And obviously, I have to depend on them because when I am old and frail, they'll be taking care of me. So all these emotions of attachment and dependency are thought to be very natural and necessary. But all of us now, being on this spiritual path for a while, we know how wrong it is to be dependent and attached, because you're always in pain. And that's the cause of stress. let's move on to, he said 5 ways of refreshing your creativity. Meditation, all of you are well aware, we practiced a few meditations as well in the last 2 hours. Contemplation, which I must say is thinking at a very deeper level and trying to unlearn, because over a period of time, we learn so many things right from our very young age, and we keep learning, but we need to find out time, sit in silence and start unlearning as well. So all of you agreed that solitude, silence, practicing silence, stability, as I mentioned, those 3-4 words which rhyme in Hindi: ek nami, economy, ekrasthiti, the stability of the mind, and ekant, which is actually, it means solitude in English, but ekant in a beautiful Hindi word which says ek ke ant mein jana, which means you get lost in the remembrance of the one, that is the divine. And that really makes you feel highly creative because you're connecting to the source, as Judi Bain was again and again saying. The source is the origin. And when we say original, the word itself comes from, original is derived from origin. And who is the originator? It's all the source, the divine being. So once we connect to him or her, our creativity really enhances. Putting it into practice, that's application, as he said. And lastly, spending time with people who are having similar intentions, so keeping good company. And again, as he said, contribution. What's this contribution? Connecting to my original state of being. This is the way I can contribute. If each one of us starts becoming soul conscious, all of us are contributing our bit of soul consciousness, and which can really change the consciousness of the entire planet. And that's what Brahma Kumaris believe in, that if each one of us starts working on the self-transformation leads to world transformation. I will just take a few questions. I'll see how much I can take. Yeah, I'll just take this, as I said, difference between emotions and feelings. So he said that emotions, feelings are the ones which are very natural. As I said, those positive ones, love, joy. But when you become emotion, it's basically you're disturbing your energy, and then it's not very productive. So someone asked, how do I master my emotions? So I think we need to go back to understanding myself, who I am. And once I do that, all the other things will just fizzle out. Everything else will start collapsing. If I can really give up my ego, which she beautifully pointed out, Judy's sister here, about Dadi Prakashmani. And I would want to repeat those 4 N's. What she said in Hindi, we say nimit, considering yourself as an instrument. Second is nirman chit, which is humble, being very humble in my dealings, in my behavior. Third is nirmal vani, that she said was about having a sweet gesture or sweet voice in our dealings. And the last one, which I didn't think she had time to cover, was renewal, which again, it's a similar word in Hindi, nirman and nirman. Nirman means to create something, to produce something, and something related to renewal. So if we can just hold on to even one of these, even if we just start practicing being humble and non-egoistic, we can really become more creative. And lastly, someone had asked, as an engineer, that we are more logical thinkers. We are taught to work more on our left brain. But at the same time, when we are doing a project or when we are doing a difficult surgery or maybe a difficult diagnosis, seeing a patient, we are also taught to be creative. So how do we keep a balance of these? So he said that you're already doing both, which means if you're performing in your job description, whatever you're performing, you're doing that creatively, because as we can understand now that whenever we keep thinking and have some new ways of thinking, we are being creative at that point of time. So though we are rational in our education, we have been taught all the time to think logically, but also you're creative at the same point of time with your thoughts. So let me just stop here and give you the announcements quickly. So we move on to, from tomorrow as well, we'll be sending out before I forget, let me just announce this before I show this. Poor Vidhi sister, I'm sorry, I forget that if you all are any new people here who want to be a part of these workshops and want to send your WhatsApp and emails to us, please send it right now as we speak. to Sister Vidhi or Sister Anu. So you can jot down in the chat box, and then we will send you all these review materials, which follow in a few days from now in your emails. And you'll also be updated. We have a small group called the Values for Life Bhakti group, where we have revisions of the Murlis. So from tomorrow morning onwards, India will have morning tomorrow. We'll be discussing about respect. And we have our very dear senior Sudha Didi, who is the General Director of Brahma Kumari's Moscow region. She'll be covering on respect. A few months ago, we had covered regard, and we'll see what is the difference between respect and regard. So it will be the next weekend. And as always, the workshop after that will be on respect again. And we have another new speaker with us, Brother Bill Simo, who is one of the team members of the Brahma Kumaris in Spain, the national coordinating team, the weekend following that. And yes, let me remind you, we always have the experiential exercises first, followed by the talk later. This time it was different because Sister Judi had another session immediately after this talk. And this is our elegant calendar. Remember, we have our silence retreat as always on the last weekend, that's last Sunday. And it will be on surrender. It was the value which we had last month. So please, you're welcome to join. We'll be announcing the details later as well, once you share your emails as well with us. So thank you so much. I'll stop sharing. And I think as we bid goodbye to each other, let's spend a few minutes in silence and move on. Let's just remember the Creator, and I, the Master Creator, connect myself to Him. And see you all. Thank you so much for being with us. More than half participants are still there. Thank you. Om Shanti.